That time I interviewed a soap star. Hello and welcome to another video. A little bit different this time, just for the fun of it. Now, I think I've alluded to this once or twice, but I don't think I've ever actually told this story. Now, the soap star I'm referring to, I think most regular viewers of this channel could hazard a guess as between a couple of options. And no, it's not that one. Although she was terribly nice to me on Twitter a couple of years ago. No. For one thing, this interview took place in, I think it was early 2004, so I wouldn't even have known who she was back then at that point. So, no. It was Amelia Frid, otherwise known as the original and best Cody Willis on Neighbours in the early 90s. Now, as regular viewers of this channel may be aware, I was a huge fan of her back in the day. I had a massive thing for her in the early 90s. And the famous story goes that because I emigrated to Australia in 1991 and the UK was like a year behind, or Australia was like a year ahead in terms of episodes, I basically missed an entire year of her. She was only in it like 18 months, and I missed like a year of her, and arrived just in time to see her leave, which did not go down well with me at the time. I can assure you. Now, basically, I didn't have, we didn't have the internet then, so I didn't have an awful lot of this person that I was a huge fan of. I think I taped like the last 6 episodes before I emigrated to Australia, and a friend sent me a couple of episodes for Christmas '92. And apart from like a TV soap magazine that I found in the mid '90s, that was it for a very long time. Then in the early 2000s, the repeats that they'd been showing since 1993, but they'd taken them off and then brought them back. To 2002, they actually reached that period, and I was very much happy to see those episodes again, and to eventually finally get to see the bloody stuff that I'd never seen before in the first place. And I got to a point in 2004 where I was just slightly irritated by the fact that I had never kind of seen any kind of interview with her, any kind of article about her, any kind of feature about her, and I'd never kind of I was going to say apart from that Panto video, but that didn't come out on YouTube till 2006. So yeah, I'd never seen anything kind of her out of character, anything about her, or anything like that. This was years before I found like some magazines as well from the early 90s in the UK. No, at this time, I'd never seen anything kind of about the actress. And I like to say that I got so fed up with the fact that I'd never seen an interview with her that I went out and got one myself. Now, how this happened, honestly, I don't even know how I did it now. Somehow, I found her email address on the internet. I have no idea how I went about doing this now, and I wouldn't even know where to start. I imagine you probably couldn't do it nowadays, because, this was a long time ago. But somehow, using one of these things, I found an email address that sounded like it could be hers, and I sent an email saying, "Is this the Amelia Frid that played Cody Willis in Neighbours?" And she kind of replied like, "Yes." "Can I help you?" And so I had to come up with a good story. So I said that I was going to, I wanted an interview with her for a Neighbours site. And she said, okay. So no, unfortunately, I did not get to actually meet her in the real world. I'm sure she's probably relieved. But I did get to interview her, and I conducted it, like an absolute professional. And that interview was put up on the Perfect Blend Neighbours website, I don't know if it's still there. I assume so, unless it's kind of gone bust now. I mean, I haven't looked at it in many a year, but it was actually published on that site. So if it's still there, you might actually be able to find it. It was a very strange thing to do. I know. I get the impression she thought I was a bit odd. Probably that last question, asking her if she was still single, may not have been the height of professionalism. Hey, what can you do? But yeah, that honestly, I'm sometimes surprised that I had the goddamn cheek nowadays. That's not a very me thing to do. I mean, you know me. I'm kind of an introvert, and I really would rather not. That thing that I mentioned about on Twitter with Bridget Novell. It was about some reviews I did for Wicked Science and talking about her brief return in 2020. I did not send those videos to her. Somebody else did that. I would not have done that. So I'm sometimes surprised by my cheek in somehow finding Amelia's email and asking her for an interview. But she was very nice, and I think it's still up there. I still have a printed copy of it myself somewhere in amongst my things, just because it was such a weird and wild thing to do. Of course, later on in the 2000s, I did actually find a couple of magazine things on her, and somebody the stuff on YouTube, like to do with like the pantomime that she was in Christmas '92. There's a couple of clips of her talking on there. But back in early 2004, there was nothing like that. So it was very much a case of, I have never seen an interview with her. I'm going to get one myself because, I'm completely out of my mind. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I have alluded to this a couple of times, I think, but I've never actually told the full story, and I find it amusing, so I hope you enjoyed it.